Hey guys, welcome back to the Tough Love Podcast with Dr. John O'Connor. Today's guest, Berto Colon, is not only a good friend, but a local celebrity, actor, sports performance person, and just somebody that I was so excited to interview today on the pod. Berto, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, John.
So Berto, let's jump right in.
Yeah.
You know, one of the amazing things is when, beyond being a podcaster and that being a healthcare practitioner, you and I met in a previous life, if you will, where you were probably still more in your mortal life, like doing the daily grinds. And, as opposed to now being in the Hollywood Netflix world that you're in now.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So moving to New Jersey in the late 2010, was looking for a place, to kind of maintain and be able to rehab, recover. And I had already been somewhat of a chiropractic. I had experience with chiropractors in my high school and college years. So
for the audience, so expand on the injuries because
we'll have plenty of time to talk about all those things. But yeah, I blew my knee out and a bunch of issues with my lower back because I had a little scoliosis. So I learned of chiropractic early. In fact, I would almost call him a mentor. He was one of the guys who was trying to guide me through when I was in high school, maybe make decisions. And among the choices was maybe you can go be a great chiropractor if football doesn't work out. So yeah, so I had already some experience with it, and I was looking for somebody in the area because I stay fit, and from time to time I needed an adjustment. And in the world that I was in, the gyms in the area, your name and your practice came up, and so you were referred to me by gym people,
which is awesome. And the funny thing about it was, fast forward to now.
Yeah.
Andrea from industry reached out and said, I ran into a perfect person. Celebrity, actor, local. And we both, the name popped up. I started thinking, I'm like, I feel like I know the name.
Yeah.
And for me in the podcast realm, it's almost like reviewing a patient history or something. I really want to dig in. And when I pulled up your stuff, I was not only impressed, I was asking friends because I'm not a big TV guy, and they're like, no, the different shows were amazing. But the funnier part was, I was like, let me look at my system. And I'm like, wait a minute, this guy was a patient.
I was already here.
And then, and then when I got eyes on you, I'm like, wait a minute, this is the football player with the knees and the shoulders. And I'm like, I remember this guy. I didn't know this, and it was, and when you get to 20,000 patients, it's like a couple could slide through the cracks.
And the fact that you're that good, that you remember, that's amazing, man. Yeah.
And I think the one thing that for me, I was super impressed because if you don't mind me asking, how old are you now?
Happy 52.
52. So again, we're a few months apart. So I'm at 51. I would like to say we're probably in like the very small percentile of fitness at our age. And the one thing that I loved was when we talked on the phone and texted was obviously your positive energy. To me, one of the biggest things that I do, whether it's my business coach, Andy Elliott, or, different mentors that I look off of, anybody that's in my inner circle, anybody that I work with at this point, has to be somebody that like I'm drawn to.
Stay fit, perhaps.
Stay fit. The positive energy.
Yeah.
I don't. The one thing that I think a lot of healthcare providers talk about are like energy suckers. They have no desire to get better.
Yeah.
Versus people know, like your limitations. You have trained your body to overcome them, and then you maintain your body so that you're like, regardless of what. Orthopedics or whatever he's telling you in as far as standardized medicine, you're like, you know what? I can do everything I want as long as I take care of stuff like that. And that mindset to me was like, we're going to crush a podcast. We're going to I'm going to show you what I do in science.
No. And it's how we find the relationships in those early mortal years, like early enough to go back to some of the rallies and some of the homecomings and seeing how people do drop off. I mean, it's amazing to me. I see some of the guys, not to talk shit about people, but people drop off, man. And genetics and lifestyles, like you slow down. And if life gets to you early on, you'll slow down enough and your body's going to go to shit.
Yeah, 100%.
Versus some of us who are like probably still hustling, fighting really hard, figuring out our way. Yeah. Part of the way you do that is by mentally fit, but physically fit has to be a component of that.
I love that part.
That's because you're mortal still. Well, after that, something else happens to you.
You got to take it. And, for me this year, my first major accomplishment this year was to win my first bodybuilding show in men's physique competition. I'm going to go for my pro card within the next 12 months. And, for me, we touched on this a little bit. That was more a journey of, I had hit rock bottom, and we talked about that a little bit the other day. And, right now I'm sitting in this chair at about 212 pounds. My rock bottom was right during COVID. I was 178 pounds. Yeah. I looked like a high school kid, and I was a broken spine, a broken soul, and a broken spirit, like just broken. Yeah. And, there were so many things that came into play because, anybody that knew me, and it was a perfect timing for that storm to have hit because we couldn't have kids in the gym. But I was devastated because I was this trainer and this persona. And even when you met me back, in 2012, when your kids were probably babies, I was Doc, this world-class trainer. I had kids coming in from all over the country to work out with me, and I could barely tie my shoes. Yeah. And, fast forward, one of the biggest things that, when you talk about your craft, right? Forget that you're an actor or I'm a chiropractor or this or that. We have what is, enhanced our DNA is our human spirit. And, and that desire to fight and survive, I had almost lost. And I was like, you know what? I got to find it, because my identity has and will always be my ability to overcome. Yeah. And, and that's why when I see people with busted up knees and busted up shoulders, and before we got on the pod today, you're like, bro, I was snatching crazy weight. I had good range of motion. And, and just to dovetail into the, that technology that I brought in that I used on you was, and it's, the sponsor of today's podcast, actually MedRay Laser and Technology. Those technologies really saved my life. Yeah. And, between, peptide therapy and all the other different things I did, I wasn't getting better. And I had to literally deviate into trying, what people would say was kind of alternative medicine, but I wasn't a candidate for surgery, yet I couldn't move forward. Yeah. And I'm like, and listen, if you're so used to working out and you can't, think about it. That was a fun thing you said the other day. You're like, bro, this is therapy. and you double down. You train, if you're not on the set, I think you train twice a day if you can, right? Yeah.
I train whenever, there's no point in my life where I can leave training and be happy. So I will find a way to always train. That's it. And that early moment that you were speaking of before, what changes you is I blew my knee out on my last year of high school, and it was serious. I know. When you go all in on something and you fail, or it gets kind of taken from you, and it's an early age. Yeah. It's an early age, because that's 17,
Without doubt. And that story is pretty amazing, because you got pulled up and your team made a big transformation with you driving it, right?
Yeah, it was pulled up. What do you mean? Like
in other words, the program wasn't that good. And you guys
high school was legit. And so, we had worked through 4 years of going from a 2-7 team to in my 3 years of varsity, 2-7. And then the next year, 7-2. And then third year, what was supposed to be my final year, championship game, bro. I was part of that growth. Yeah. And I blew my fucking knee out.
Heartbreak.
On the first day of fucking camp. Captain, I was going to be a captain my junior year. But, tradition or whatever, coach came up to me and said, next year's your year. And I was named captain. All in.
Drum roll.
That was my world. Yeah. That was my fucking world. I was Johnny quarterback, or what do they call that guy? The Johnny Be Good story about the quarterback. That was Berto Behave story. That was my fucking world. And so it's an early blow.
Yeah, 100%.
And you have to figure shit out quick.
Yeah, without doubt. And that's that parallel. We talked about that. I got to show you the picture in the office. That was my sophomore going into junior year of high school. I was paralyzed. I was traveling to camps. I was down at Duke University, and I had just had all the boosters. I had them late because I was reacting to medicines as a kid. So I had all my boosters to go on the college campus, and I had an MMR shot. Well, unfortunately, unknown to me, the vaccination brand that I got was a contaminated brand. And I contracted an autoimmune disease called GBS, Guillain-Barré syndrome. And within a week and a half, 2 weeks, the entire left side of my body was paralyzed.
Wow, dude.
Yeah. And
worst I've ever had of anything like that was a little Bell's palsy moment when I was in college, and my eye froze for a little bit, and it went away.
The entire left side of my body.
Yeah.
And
wow.
The one thing about it was, to this day, I never, at that time we were studying for SATs, and everybody, like, we were athletes, right? So you're sitting there and you're writing down all the SAT words we used to call, right? And I remember writing on a legal pad and writing this mission statement, if you will, of who I was. And I was, and I was wounded. But at that age, when you're 15, 16, 17, when you blew out your ACL, you are going to live forever. We talk about mortal. That's when you feel like you're truly immortal, right? Mm-hmm. As a kid, that mindset, you could do anything, you could overcome anything. Yeah. And I remember just writing down that this is a temporary situation, that I will overcome it, and I will do great things, and I will inspire people from my story. And the reality is I was scared as shit because no one knew what I had.
Exactly.
I had to write that down.
You were wallowing in fear before all those fucking brave moments came to you, man. I mean, it's how it always works that way. And it always works like that.
But it's funny, and to pull from, one of the recent podcasts I was listening for, again, my business coach, I cite a lot of my spiritual energy from him, is law of attraction, right? Which is really the secret, right? That she put it on the map. And rocked it as far as a global phenomenon. But what you think about is what you'll bring about. And so the reality is that I never for a second, even the energy when you're talking about it, even though it was devastating, you were such in a powerful moment. I could envision you on crutches with your varsity jacket on, hopping down the sideline when things were going right or wrong.
You would be right.
And cheering people on.
Yeah.
Tell me how, again, this first of a few podcasts we're going to do. Tell me how fitness has been a huge part of keeping you grounded or helping you staying focused with regards to your successful acting career.
So the one thing that you have in all these, this is a daily challenge deal that you make with yourself. And you push your limits every fucking day. You should.
Yeah, well,
an hour and a half. And you challenge yourself to something that's hardly attainable. Mm-hmm. Meaning from a physical standpoint, from a physical goal that you may have. And most of the time you'll come up short. Or you're always going to want more, which is the idea of, right? This is what we do. Mm-hmm. And that's the important part about it. And if you don't practice that outside of whatever world you're in and draw the comparisons and the parallels, right? So that you can kind of practice. And then there's the stage. There's the rehearsal process, which is exercise.
Yeah.
And then there's real life, showtime. And so that's what I think. That's why for me, they go hand in hand.
1,000%.
I don't know how to think outside of the box if those things are not part of the equation
of what makes you, what designs.
It would probably be unbalanced and fucked up.
Agreed. And I've said the same thing. And for us, obviously we're right around the same age. Our iconic figures like Michael Jordan or even Tiger Woods, even though he's a bit younger than us, or any of those type of athletes, their careers, their success was so broadcasted. Kobe, who I remember doing a tribute, I have like 35 pairs of, when I was training, my name and the year on them of Kobe's, was their work ethic. And that all of them said the same thing. Practice so hard, right? Which would be obviously you rehearsing so hard that the show becomes
it's
effortless.
It's an obsession. It's an obsession with, you're more in love with the work, with the practice.
The process,
Then the game is the game where you get to have fun and then showcase your highest level 100%. Against and compete. It ain't about anything else other than that. So you got to be more in love with the process.
Agreed.
You miss, you lose. It's like the game is not really the game for wanting to do what you want to do. It's the process for those guys, is the process to be able to do that, to be part of the fucking top 1%.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Or top 3% of humanity. You're athletically enough to earn money doing this. That's
amazing. And I think sometimes people take that for granted. I was thinking about something that, to that end, is that when people take for granted what they have and then it's gone, I was so appreciative during the time that I was laid up and I didn't leave the front room. I'll show you my recovery room when we finish up today. Mm-hmm. And I remember just sitting on Normatex and different devices and just being like, when I was paralyzed, I never felt this hopeless, but, being a business owner, a husband, a father, a trainer. And I was like, this is like being trapped, like being dead, like being in a cryogenic state. Like I felt like I was frozen. Like I can't believe I'm sitting here like this, until it was like enough,
The fire that shit lights under you, and you have to respond to it.
Without a doubt.
You can't stay there.
The thing,
scary as fuck to stay there, and you got to fight out.
I hadn't seen you obviously in almost probably like 13 years or whatever it was. And, I'm like Rain Man. I regurgitate things. People start talking like, you remembered what? I'm like 20,000 patients later, you hear things, you just repeat things back randomly. But it was funny because you've been chasing wellness, like feeling good, be able to perform for a long time. Mm-hmm. And the same thing, and people were like, you work so hard to stay healthy. And I said to him, I was like, it's funny. That's a great comment. Let's put it in perspective. We're family. We don't like the beach house. We all agree. Maybe we have a sister or two, or little Johnny's our little brother. We say, hey, we're going to sell the beach house, buy a new one. You can't do that with a body. So if you don't take care of it, if you don't guard it, you don't protect it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, when you lose your health, just like we were saying earlier, when you're saying, people start slipping.
When human beings recognize what the most important thing is in life, is usually when there's a physical ailment.
Yeah.
Disease, some tragic fucking accident, something physically demanding that you have to come out of this physical trauma. It's like, I'm telling you, it's really just a practice area.
And it's funny. I wasn't super religious or spiritual until I got hurt.
Yeah.
And when I got out to Andy Elliott's events, there were some extremely impressive individuals, but their stories, died 3 times, overdosed, blah, 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 and they were built like us. And I'm like, wow, because traditionally, if you and I coming from the nightclub industry, you see these people, you're like, don't let them in, and I'm listening, and their discipline and their hunger to stay healthy and on the right path literally brought tears to my eyes, because I was like, man, I found my tribe, because like, even when we were talking, I'm like, I want to be able to do this for a 10-year run hard. And then don't get me wrong, beyond that, I want to be in great shape for 10 years. I want to chase greatness. Yeah. And not only chase it, I don't run that shit down and catch it, And so I was laughing when you say make our tribe. I'm like, oh no, Berto's stuck with me, because when you look at your inner circle, you want a group of, like, it's like, I love that funny thing. It's always on Instagram. This an old school mobster said, you don't need 50 dudes. You need 4 motherfuckers, and you can take, you can take over the world,
It's since the way my father used to put it was like, you'll count your real people with the fingers of one hand. Like in Spanish sounds a lot better. But you can count your true friends in your life with the digits in one hand. Like,
we'll translate it for the podcast.
It's not a lot. It's not going to be everybody.
What would it sound like in Spanish?
What would it sound like in Spanish? Tú vas a tener verdaderos amigos. Tú vas a contar tus verdaderos amigos con los dedos de una mano.
Let's make sure we save that time check.
And I gave you the real Spanish version, the one that I learned. So that's the one. When I was like this, and I didn't pay attention to anything else except when someone gave like some good advice so that you can come down from this like crazy thing that you're at as a kid. Yeah. Tell
me this. We're not going to go into it because we have a whole plan and outline, and we have a game plan.
Of course.
How do you stay, like, if you're on location, how do you stay in shape? Like, how do you, like, because to me it's mental therapy. I need to work out. So how does that go?
I admire your discipline with diet, because I think the big key to that whole being on set and being away and training, it really is about your diet. Yes. Let's be real. Yeah. You're on a set in Thailand. I'm used to rigging it out in the gym. Like, I go fucking nuts, right? Like, I go crazy. You don't have equipment in a lot of these places. You got bikes. If you're lucky, you get a little, like, one of those, like, what do they call them?
A total gym or something?
Like a total gym machine with a pull down, everything in one, if you're lucky. So the training becomes about your diet mostly. And don't be a pig, which is another one of the pitfalls of the business, because you could literally be fucking eating all day long.
There's food out,
and you could be a retard about it. But when you're a professional, you see what the professionals are. They don't do that. And so it's really diet. And Man, kettlebells. Those crazy complexes with kettlebells that have like a 6 squats, 6 overhead raises, 6 curls, back down, and doing like full,
a full body training.
Whole body training with the kettlebells.
You know, it's funny. My exposure to kettlebell training was quite unique. And, you know, when you see people that come from Europe and they train like that's all they train with. And my first exposure to it, I really didn't pay attention to it because I was a trainer by the name of Pavel Tsatsouline. And he did a ton of mobility work, but what he was known for, he was Russian Special Forces, and he moved out west. He was a Hollywood trainer of the stars, but he was almost like a Jason Statham kind of dude because he was a martial artist, he was badass, and he was moving these heavy kettlebells in these sequences. And I didn't come into it again until I was injured. And when I got exposure to them, I was like, wow, like you need to be one powerful mother effer to move these around, because my friends would ask me like, dude, you never trained like that before. I'm like, yeah, I did. And they're like, my friends I grew up with, I said, no, I didn't. I go, yeah, it felt like growing up with my dad doing tree work. I go, it feels like straight up labor.
I have an easy way to put how hard that shit is. Like if I had to put it into one word, have you ever done overhead squats with kettlebells?
Oh yeah. Well,
or overhead squats, overhead lunges with kettlebells? It is it's mind-bogglingly hard.
How hard that is? Well, because you're bracing everything.
And if you don't have, first of all, intense mobility, like complete and full mobility, and then that tensile strength that you have to have, like that tension.
It's wild. It's wild.
I mean, and in control, because you can't be fucking around with, you have 60 pounds on one arm, like in one hand over your head, like up here. If you do something wrong, you're getting hurt.
It's probably right around the time when we met, around 2012. I was at the Atlanta Club, and there were a couple new trainers in from overseas, a couple guys, and they were like, if there was karate, they were like black belts in kettlebells. And I'm watching them, and they're moving 80, 90, 100-pound, and they're not big people, but they were strong looking. They were like Muay Thai, some type of martial arts.
Ripped
but they
shreds.
were moving these weights in an impressive manner. And I'm like, and at first I'm looking at like, say we're bros, and I'm like, all right, maybe we'll try this shit. And then the client goes, right? And I watch him get folded up like LT hit him. Like the kettlebell fell, it hit him on the head, he dropped, then it hit him in the stomach or the groin. Like it couldn't have been more of an insult injury that you see on like Instagram where you're like, oh, that dude got crushed.
Kill yourself.
Yeah, and you know, and I think he actually wound up having surgery. And literally in my head, I was like, yeah, no. It was like watching somebody go and snorkeling, and all of a sudden a big ass shark comes out, you get back in the boat. I'm like, yeah, we're good. I'll watch from the water.
But great analogy. And what do you do in a moment when the shark comes at you? What do you do in that moment when the shark is coming at you? What do you do?
Punch it in the nose.
You stay calm, and these motherfuckers are now guiding them away.
Yeah.
They're just like tapping them in the nose. Like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not saying I am. But that's what they're doing. That's high level shit, but that's what they're doing.
I always chuckle. You know, it's funny. I think of my kids, my family, you know, I would definitely, like over the years when it's ever been push come to shoves with wild animals and whatnot, I guess growing up hunting and being a little bit of a redneck, I have zero fear in those states. But I always love the...
You had a big fucking gun too.
Yeah, well, you're in the water. I don't know if you had... Yeah,
you don't have anything. Like,
you're out of luck.
Yeah.
But I love that one military commander that was retired, and I think the speech is titled "Making Your Bed." And he was talking about bullies around the world, and he was a Navy SEAL and rolling in, and he referred to it as a shark. And he said, when there's a bully, the best way to face a bully is square up and punch him dead in the nose.
You face it.
Yeah. And so I do think that's when I always hear the shark one, I'm always thinking like, you know what? I always told my kids that. I said, listen, I'll come to school and stick up for you, but you got to make sure they're bullies. Just can't be squaring people up. And I more have to worry about my daughter. I think she was more the aggressive one than my son.
Yeah, man. The girls are so aggressive. I mean, it's you learn so much from girls. I'm learning so much from mine. It's insane. They're sharks, man. That's a good way to describe them. They're amazing. Segue to, where were we? I just lost you. You see, that's what happens when you're having fun.
It's all good. So I think the big thing, you know, again, the theme of this podcast is just the discipline, what exercise does, regardless of your career path. It's amazing, you know, it's amazing how important it is because of the discipline, the dedication, the determination, and then that carryover that it goes into the career path, whatever it is we choose, right? And the bottom line is the same way you plan and prepare as a professional actor.
Yeah.
I think that carryover definitely translates into the success because you're disciplined. Like right now you're in between, right? You just where did you just film? You were in Poland?
I'm just coming off the big year with the Night Agent, and we shot that last year in 2024, like the beginning till the middle. And right now I'm sitting in between two projects, two independent films, probably in a month and a half or two. Okay. When the line and it's dotted and signed, when everything is signed, I'll start talking about it.
Got it.
But the preparation is the same. Like first of all, you got to be super humble in this business. Like for the last 3.5 years, I've been so blessed. I literally went from Power Book to Ghost to The Penguin to Equalizer to most recent The Night Agent, and like a film in Puerto Rico that's with Wanda Sykes that's come. Like I was steady working for like almost 3 years. So that's
a good run.
I'll be very honest. So when I started in the business, that was the goal, to be able to sustain yourself in the business, in the work, doing work only, be full time.
Not have to go out and side hustle.
Which I've done with pride and for a long time as well, even while I began, right? But to be able to kind of be settled with just doing that art and the work. And that's when for me, it's when the real kind of mastery of the work came in as well. It actually came hand in hand. Like you felt better, you knew where you were in the world, and so now it just opens up. Like everything opens up about it. And you learn to navigate and you get better and you really start to like believe in yourself, and then the growth in the work becomes evident because now you're giving them what they want, which is like a very authentic, honest, real presentation.
I love it. And the funny thing about it is I always love the way Eric Thomas says it, right? It's the M word, momentum.
Yeah.
Right?
It's nice to have it.
Yeah. And, I think, like I said, so do you find, teach me about acting, right? So as far as a career, obviously the contracts aren't signed yet, but like, say if we start filming in September, did they send you the roles and you're prepping ahead of time, or you get there and you're on set and you're learning the roles? How does that work? What does that look like?
The beginning of the process is, you get the call, you get the project, they're in the audition. Maybe when the productions do that anywhere from 2 months to maybe 6 months of preparation for the job.
Got it.
And so at that point, 7 months prior to you beginning a job, potentially, you already know what your involvement is going to be.
Got it. So you know your lines.
You went in knowing what the outcome, the best case scenario would be.
Okay.
Which is usually life-changing. And now you're working like you are a living actor and just living off the work because you're getting paid formidably.
Nice.
And you can sustain a family and just focus on the work. At that point that's when it starts to click.
Like I'm here.
And that's the first thing anybody is kind of searching. And once you're there, then you expand more and more, and you keep growing and you keep looking. But it's always a hunt. It's always a hustle. At that point, you get a team, right? Like once you get there, you have a team.
Which
you have the proper representation, management, and there's advice that comes with that and guidance. It's representation and guidance. It's a really good thing to have. And then from there, you should be cruising. You could be doing better at this, like that's what, for me, that's the picture.
And I think that's the athletics, right? Like in other words, competing.
Same thing.
Like you want to be better, right?
Same thing.
And I always remember the great coaches, and I'm sure you had a couple too, that always say, athletics prepare you for whatever you're going to face in life. Major defeats, major victories, and the preparation that goes in for both of them. What we learn from defeat, what we gain from victory, and then the bricks that we lay to get to the foundation to ultimately the success, right?
And the beautiful thing about it is not an arrogant pursuit, because being able to do that is humbling as well. When you're a kid, you learn that you're not part of like the large, it's a gift. Being physically well and being athletic, having this gift of being physical in your life. Yeah. Whatever. If you're a guitar player, the most dynamic guitar players are incredibly physical.
Yeah, their motor skills are ridiculous.
And if they're rock and roll or whatever, like they're moving with that fucking instrument and they're going crazy, jumping off of, you know what?
Yeah.
There's always a way to put in your physicality into everything that you do. I mean, it's your instrument. It's how you are presented every day in the world. And if you move it well,
then it's that much better.
It's that
then
much
you become
better.
elite, right?
Yeah.
I was blown away when I held the podcast with David Bryan from Bon Jovi. And I was, not say that they weren't athletic, but you wouldn't think it as sports performance. But I didn't realize how celebrated they were with regards to how many stadiums they filled. And one of the unique things that they do, much like, if you do all your own stunts and you're an actor, right? They don't take breaks. Now they're 60 something years old, and he's, and he was saying this, and I'm like, and I'm learning. And when I thought almost like preparing for a legal case, I was prepared, but I didn't think to look at what's the preparation that goes in it. And no different than the physicality or whatever happens on there, or like the duration or whether they're a singer. And he's like, you have no idea what it's like to play 2 hours straight and you're just banging away at the keyboard, belting out the top of your lungs, whether you got to go to the bathroom, this, that, whatever. It's like, you can't move. You're pinned down,
That's an athleticism of the internals, the internal organs that you need to like I love Eddie Vedder, man.
Yeah.
I'm such a big fan of Eddie Vedder. That dude, there is rawness and athletic ability in that man, because I don't know what, it's just, he sustains these shows and this way of singing for years.
Yeah.
And whenever he's live, he's 2.5, 3 hours long. As emotive, as energetic, as real and present as you can be. I mean, Chris Stapleton is another one that I'm a huge.
Yeah, without doubt. Yeah, it is amazing.
It is an internal, like a level of internal, athleticism and a crazy mind body control. It's got to be fucking insane.
You can appreciate it because literally your talent is you. It's your brain. It's making that script come alive, making people believe that you're that character, you're that person, you take that on. When I saw Chris Stapleton and he was just sitting there with the hat on in the chair,
and sings with his wife.
And the wife came out. What was funny was he's like 3 songs in and she's on stage, but I wasn't sure who was who. And they were so country. And he had the cap on. He's just blowing top of his lungs and crushing it, not moving. He's on the stool and he's strumming the guitar. He's doing his thing, and like the crowd is just rocking. And then all of a sudden he called her in, and they didn't miss a beat. And I'm like, that right there, and it's it was like they said about Bon Jovi, this or that, Chris Stapleton is of that level iconic, is that he's still going. Day one, 10 years later, he's still filling arenas and not losing a step. So I think there's something to be said about that, how impressive that is, because you see a lot of these guys where I'm like, and I'm always learning, right? It seems like you're kind of the same way in that, I'm like, wow, this guy's got, this song is amazing. How come he's not a superstar? Then I'm like, if I'm with somebody that's in the music business, they're like, because he's got a song. I'm like, yeah? They're like, yeah, that's it. Chris Stapleton's got 32 of those suckers. You know what I mean? I'm like, I never thought about it like that,
My daughters and I always talk about The Weeknd as well. I mean, complete musical, just elegance and just energy and everything. My daughters love him. And I agree. I think that they have a good person to look up to at their age,
Impressive. And that's the thing too, is I always say and I love these kind of conversations where you just go and just have real talk. What's John, goodness gracious. I can't think of his last name. Great singer, almost like John Legend.
John Legend. Oh my God. Yeah.
So when he first started singing, I'm like, oh, this guy's special. Then all of a sudden he kind of dropped back into producer songwriter mode. And I'm like, you realize that guy is a rock star. He just doesn't, he's worth hundreds of, I get it. I'm like, why would you tour if you're worth that much money?
He's his own brand,
And, but it is something special about that. But let's get back to, let's get back in. We can go all day today.
Yeah, it's all good. Whatever you want. I mean, we got more. We got plenty
more to go. But let's talk about this as we wrap this one up. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about, with regards to your training and vision, do you just do it? Do you ever do any competitions or anything like that?
One of the things, I was going to tie this to some of the stuff we were talking about earlier, that element of competition. I've done a couple of CrossFit Games, local comps. But the first one I did in 2018, John, I got to tell you, man,
brought you back to high school?
The adrenaline And the rush, I'll never forget it. The first event, going live in a competition setting inside of a stadium, inside of the place in Asbury Park, the main hall, whatever the hall is.
Convention hall, whatever.
Convention hall, lights, the rigs, everything is up. You're competing. It's like live competition with everyone. You had to clean the heaviest you can clean and then squat it 7 times. So it was a power clean for 1 and 7 after that.
Wow.
Just front squat, right? Yeah. I got it, dude. And on rep 6, I knew I was dead, bro. Like I was
gassed.
Dead. I think the judge was very fair with me because I think on that 6th rep, I might have just broken parallel, or maybe not. I kind of felt like I cheated, to be honest with you. So
you were in survival mode.
I expected, I was already dead, and I kind of expected, fuck, she's gonna go no rep. But she didn't say anything, and then I went on the 7th, and dude, on the way down, I'm already dead.
Yeah.
Like I'm dead in the weight.
Like the weight's coming out of your hands.
No, I was ready to give it up. My daughter and my wife are sitting dead smack in front of my fucking face, dude. My 2 girls and her.
You had to dig deep.
Dude, I saw that shit, and fearlessly I went for the 7th that I knew I didn't have. And when I got to the bottom, it fucking hurt, and I said, I'm not doing that in front of them. I'm not gonna fucking drop this shit. And it took that one. I went real full. I went down, and as I was coming up, I felt like I came up slow as fuck. I got up, done, dude. I threw my fucking belt down. I jumped all over the fucking place, and the rush of energy that I felt, back to high school, like 100% back to like that the freest moment in times in my life with that shit.
Yeah. Pure adrenaline.
Pure. Like, it was overwhelming. It's like the rush in your body was like, it almost feels like you're going to fucking faint.
Well, chances are, because you went past the fatigue level, you probably did. On top of your brain and body were on 2 different levels.
Yeah, exactly. The mind gives up first and the body gives up later. You could always just trust the body more.
Yeah.
Like when you tell yourself, no, I'm done. No, the body has a bigger check on the little brain, and it's going to survive even when you're dead. So it's going to figure out a way to come out of the hole.
It's amazing. I've had the opportunity to see David Goggins speak a couple times, and I feel like everybody's got to kind of tap into their inner David Goggins, because most people don't realize. And honestly, it started, but I think Jocko Willink monetized his abilities because he would always say, "Embrace the suck."
Yeah, the process.
And, and right where you think you're going to fail, and you were there, you looked, and your why was dead ass in front of you, and you go, "Oh fuck no." Not here, not now. This won't be the way.
Right. So you attach a serious emotion, but at the end of the day, your body finished.
Your body checked out.
Your body finished. Yeah. It was not going to check out. Your body finished.
I hear people talk about it, and it's funny because Dr. Chartier that works with me, when he was still on Wall Street before he went to chiropractic school, he was always the on the computer guy and this and that. He brought a workout that was pre-X Games and pre-CrossFit and everything. It was called Jim Jones. Okay. And so we'd be, at the time, it was the New York Sports Club in Freehold. And we would, and both of us, he was a standout athlete. We were both ridiculously athletic on the basketball court. We would literally do 315 dead, 315 squat, 315 single leg step up, 36-inch box jump, sprint in a row. This is how these guys would train. So people would watch us. And meanwhile, we're just like, you and me be in our happy space. We're thinking this is normal. Like, this is normal. They're like, military? Like, you're being deployed. Like, what are you guys training for?
Yeah.
And we were looking at him like, life? I don't know. What do you mean? What are we training for? Like, we were perplexed. I'm like, that workout looks like you're going to die. I said, no, it's great. Like, it took a while to get to these numbers, but but I think that is really those 1% mindsets that we talk about. And the one thing that I'm seeing as I'm climbing in the ranks with some of the podcast stuff that we're doing and even the business coaching, the elite can take their mind, or really take their body, to another place because they will not negotiate with their mind. And they tell their mind, this is what's going to happen. One way or the other, I'm getting this to happen.
Yeah, it's a fucking amazing commitment that you can get really good at.
Yeah.
And you have to start early. You got to you understand that early on. It's why it's called longevity.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just going to give you a crazy edge. And I think it's it should be very, everyone should have that gift. Everyone should have that energy, that desire to want to do that. But not everybody does. And that's what makes it a gift too. Answer that.
Well, we were talking about the other day, and I wanted to be a selfless plug to, one of my new companies that just started, but Boost Anti-Aging is all about that, right? It's a longevity, medical center or centers that promote optimization of health, right? From, peptide therapy to testosterone replacement to nutritional counseling, weight loss, and regenerative healing, and all the different amazing things that are out there now and available. And I'm always amazed, right? And people say, well, why'd you hire an Andy Elliott, type business coach? Because the ability to converse and speak is the most powerful tool we have, other than the animal attraction where you could look at somebody, this and that, and you don't have to say a word and you know what's up one way or the other, fight, fear, or whatever the F you want to put in there.
Yeah.
It's on.
Yeah.
And, so when I looked at it, I think the big thing when we talk about anti-aging and longevity is how important it is for people to take that by the horn, so to speak, because how many times you run into people that are our age that you grew up with or whatever, and haven't seen in a long time, you're like, and you, in your head, you're like, and again, you have a warm smile, you're always eye contact, but in your head, your inner head's almost like Jim Carrey, liar, liar, damn, bro, you look fucking terrible.
Yeah.
What happened? By the way, you're seeing somebody right now, you know what I'm talking about? You see him, you're like, oh man, what the fuck happened to you?
I mean, I try to be a little bit more humble about that approach because I think it's hard, but it's real. It's sad to see it. It sucks to see it. And I don't know. I mean, I'm so interested, and every time I talk to you about this stuff and the new gen stuff that you've been speaking to me about, the way you presented it, you're getting behind, it seems to me like you're behind something that's actually getting results.
100%.
It's proven.
100%.
And I've been experiencing with the treatments and the stuff we've done in your
clinic,
office so far. Look, I kept it honest and I said it to the guys, the person I referred to you, Greg, and you got a few more coming to you, by the way.
Yes.
It could have been a timing life situation, perhaps, but I know that I went to you, and after 2 treatments with you, I felt the difference.
And I think
that echo thing, that treatment that you did with the sound and the
laser and the shockwave, yeah,
man,
game changers.
And this, like you said, so I'm grateful, and I mean, I understand why you would be so thrilled and at the top of the game with them.
The funny thing about it is, and this is a powerful line, and I think we'll finish today talking about it.
Yeah.
But the reality is when you experience it firsthand, you don't have to sell it because you live it.
Yeah, I should have gotten more specific with that. Yeah, it becomes your.
Well, I'm treating people, and people will say and I joked around the Bosley Hair Club for men. I said, guys, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but when I was at ground zero and I had no way out, and I was talking to people, and the depression, everything was really laying into me, I went into science, and I was like, well, this is it. Literally in my head, I'm like, this is it. I don't even know. And I don't want to say the S word, but I literally felt hopeless.
Yeah.
And when I started seeing inch by inch and started getting there, and it's funny because I'm sure people see you sometimes, or older family members damn, Berto, you still getting after like that?
Yeah.
And I saw somebody at the gym, and they're like, bro, you look like you're going to pop. And I chuckled. I was like, what's funny? If I told you couldn't do it again, you would guard it.
Yeah.
But if I told you did it half-ass, you'd probably just make a funny face to me and say, what? But when I thought I'd never be able to do it again, now when I get in there, I do it like it's the last time I ever could do it.
A step further for me is the fact that you survived that hit.
Yeah.
Right? It's because you were fit already.
Yeah, agreed.
And so now that you have that back, I think that the gratitude is tenfold.
Without doubt.
That was your essence. And when your whole essence, it's almost like the spiritual essence for some people.
1,000%.
Or the whatever essence that what they're about. When that's what you're about at the core, you get that back. It's like getting air again.
Yeah.
It's like if someone had deprived you of air and then they gave it to you.
Yeah.
So it just always, no matter what, I mean, the reason we're like this is because we're alike in that sense. Like life and experiences have kind of like taught us that that's the way it really is.
And it has to be. And I think, listen, everybody has their identities, what they stand behind. For me, it's always been an activity-based thing. I always tell people, I'm like, I don't know it any other way. Everything I've always done has been activity-based, whether I'm restoring somebody's activities for them, or I'm enhancing mine, or I'm learning about them, or whatever the case may be. It's always been a body in motion stays in motion. But I know for me, it was devastating. And I don't think I put thought in, one of my friends I was talking with had a great point, like, hey, doc, what are you going to do if you can't do that? And during that time, say I was 4, so it was 10, 11 years ago for us, 12 years ago for us. I was like, no, I'll be able to do it. And like literally at that time, I was like ageless. I felt like Peter Pan. I was like, no, man, I'll do this shit forever. And literally froze me like this, how you're looking at me right now. Because no, man, seriously, like when you can't do it. And I said, and I didn't think about it as that when it did happen, I go, you know what? I kind of want to be like Sinatra. And what do you mean? Like, I want to do it my way. I don't want to be falling apart like one of those guys. It's like crawling across. I want to walk away on my terms.
Yeah.
And I want, and I didn't get it to happen that way. And I think that was a little bit of my emotional part too, because unfortunately life doesn't always, you don't get that perfect Cinderella or whatever, like Disney story. But I will say that what I did with that, how I learned from my loss, was to tell people, hey guys, if I told you there was an end date, and there is, would you think about it different on how hard you rehabbed, how much you invested in yourself, how hard you worked, how clean you eat?
Yeah.
Because coming back from it, I'm a 1%er. When people see me when I won this show this year, what I really want to do is take the pictures from, that COVID era when I was stick skinny, broken, and I couldn't, bro, if we were growing up, you're like, grab the toothpaste. I'm like, hell no. It's something I wouldn't bend at my waist because I was afraid something was going to lock up.
Man. It's like
traumatic,
Sucks.
So
beyond belief.
So we'll close on this. Love the energy.
Thank you, bro.
I think
likewise, sentiment is mutual.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that the audience is going to love is that you can hear from your career to your personal life to who you are and your inner energy. It's authentically you.
Thank you.
And it's built around, grit, sweat, and just hard work and just that fortitude.
Thank you, bro. Same. The energy is, I feel the same. The way you treat your practice, your life, your comportment with people, your kindness, your stern, your discipline. It's all like a beautiful package. And I appreciate it, man. I do.
Thank you so much. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this podcast today. Again, there's more to come with Berto and myself, but thank you again. The biggest gift you can give us is to share, like, and just keep this story going. We'll see you again soon, and God bless.